Okay, we are live here, both in Atlanta for Happiest Hour. I'm so excited to have Amy Ray and Emily Salyers, the Indigo girls, on the show today. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, also, congrats on your 16th album release. Look Long is out today, 11 songs. We're going to hear 4 of them today. And I love the record. Congrats.
Thank you.
It's good to have it out. It's been done for over a year now, so it's really great to have it out.
And I know this is a weird time and a weird way to be putting out a record, but you know, a lot of the folks that we've had on have had albums that were slated to be released right now, putting them out in the world. And as fans, I can just say thank you for going through with it. We still need music, and it's great to have new music keep coming out. So thank you.
We're just doing a social experiment by releasing it during the pandemic. So no, it's always good to have new music out. That's what Amy and I are always trying to do, is keep writing and keep playing and just keep it fresh.
Well, this album, I guess idea for it started in the UK, and it was recorded in the UK, and you've got a lot of the Come On Now Social team as part of this record. How was that experience of going back to folks you'd worked with before and going to Bath, England to record it?
Well, for us, the people that we worked with, we met them back in '99 during Lilith Fair, and it was John Reynolds was drumming for Sinead O'Connor, Claire Kinney was playing bass, and Carol Isaacs was playing keys, and Justin Adams was playing guitar, and Caroline Dale was playing cello, and Sinead's band, and we got to be friends, and then we made Come On Now Social with those guys playing about 75% of that record, and we've kept in touch ever since, and they've sort of been our compass in a way. We've played with them off and on through the years and had dinners every time we go to England to play. We have a big dinner together, and this time we were having tea. You know, we were over there touring and they were jamming with us, and we were having tea with John, and we were just like, it's time to make a record together, because we just there's nothing, I don't know what it is about them, but there's something about the way we align with them, and it's the most fun ever. And it's I don't know, it's not like, you know, we go over there and it's just every day it's like opening a present, you know, a gift of song, because we get to hear what they're playing and all their parts, and we never know what they're going to do, but we know it's going to be right, you know. So the whole thing was just like totally amazing, you know. And it was, I mean, even just making it was great. We could have just left it in the box and we would have been fine. Just having made it was fun enough, you know.
Well, we're going to hear 4 songs from the album today. What are you guys going to play for us first?
We're going to start with a song I wrote called When We Were Writers. Kind of harkens back to some of my time at Tulane University in New Orleans. And also it's just really about keeping the creative fire alive, you know, not even having to try to keep it alive, but the way it can stay alive. So When We Were Writers. Toast in the mouth, go get a job. Last best I ever got was a quarter for a beer on a quad. People singing on a makeshift stage, you sitting in the town in the shade. You came from a foreign town and you smoked a joint with Jackson Brown. What if my pain won't deliver me? What if my stage crushes me with boredom? If I read into everything you say to me, I will never get the meaning of the words like when you wrote them. When we were spiders, and babies with God. It's pulling all nighter, push wood in the fire. And I just look like smoke in my eyes, but I'm still burning inside. calmer seats, serial monogamy. Best trip I ever took was on the ship that I reckon now I got set free. Strange boy in the biggest summer, dancing to the beat of a different drummer. Maybe a deep mirage, or a message with camouflage. What if I thought that the best of me was spending my day, just fine, to shortchange my truthful capacity, and recognizing just when I was running out of time. When we were riders, igniters, callous to scars from the war. The sentence gets tighter, the impact grows wider, and nothing is wasted, no chances denied. I have my day in the sun, that's no lie, but I'm still burning inside. Slings and arrows, passage narrows, the story harrowing, the word becomes ash. Wrestle the beast that leaves you diminished. It's alright, you will never be finished. You're a fighter. Easier to be cruel, better to be kind. Now through the stalks of your heart, tender box, and through the rock, you will find you're still burning inside. We were right, and I'm still burning inside. We were right.
Woo! Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I've been doing these every day for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and I think this is the closest in proximity I've ever actually been to the person on the other side of the screen. Being in Atlanta, I've been listening to you guys since I was in high school, which you guys were just out of high school at the time. We're not that much different in age. And I got to hear your interview with the great Lois Reitzes on WABE today. That was fun.
We love Lois. And
I love Lois too.
Yeah, I mean, she's an Atlanta institution.
For sure. She's amazing.
So that's an honor.
So a lot has happened since the last time you put out an album together. You both become parents. What has life been like, and what has been like? What have you been listening to? What has been sort of influencing where this record ended up since you last got together and recorded an album?
I mean, one thing about John Reynolds is he's just so excellent with the rhythmic center, the heartbeat of the song. I mean, he's a drummer, so it stands to make sense, but he has a feel for our stuff, and so I always like him to put a beat on at least one of my songs. I really like a lot of hip hop. I've always been a hip hop fan. I love the 808 sound, the old 808 machine, and just a lot of hip hop beats. And so there's a ballad on the song. It's Look Long. It's a title track song. And it's a ballad, but he put an 808 on it, which really satisfied that need I have to just take it out of just a straight up acoustic ballad realm. So, listening to a lot of rhythmic stuff and having John place perfect centers into all of these songs is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even think, I'm trying to think of what influenced the songwriting for this record, but we both were really in love with the Bon Iver's record that he came out with last year, and I I wish I could be influenced by that writing. It's so brilliant. I just listen to it and become paralyzed with I play his records and cry on the airplane, things like that.
Genius.
He's a genius, but you know, I think having kids and having to learn how to manage time and write in short spurts and things like that influences kind of the way you write in some ways, and the way you listen. And for me, I just, all these songs were like, I was working on them over a long period of time, influenced by a million different things. You know, the Parkland, Florida shootings, the sort of social rifts between neighbors when you have a kid and they don't agree with your lifestyle. And for me, and then like our tours and just traveling songs, getting older, you know, thinking about liberation and how you keep yourself liberated as you get older, and how you keep that generation gap from coming up, and, you know, just honoring the people before you and the people that are coming after you. Those are a lot of things I was thinking about, I think.
That's great. Well, it looks like you have a little instrument change here. We've got the mandolin. We've got is that electric banjo? What is
electric banjo? Emily from the Dixie Chicks played one of these, and so I stole the idea from her.
Nice. So what song are we going to hear with the new instruments here?
We're going to do a song called Howl at the Moon. This one, John, really, it's so different on the record than it is when we play it acoustically. It's almost like a completely different animal, but we can't really emulate the record because, well, he just put this groovy beat on it, and then this woman that used to sing backup for George Michael sang all the backup vocals and just created a whole, like an instrument unto itself. So we just do it the way we do it. But I hear it all when we're playing.
I did too.
So that's for me. All right, here we go. This is called Howl at the Moon. I'm sorry for the grief consistent to my love. I know it won't ever be on the road. Everyone's a Michigan, young and free, and there's something on the land where you howl at the moon. It'll cost you not enough to bring you down. That's been my lesson. Ever since you trailed me around with fire, like the elders who have cried for mercy, you will not be satisfied till we are free. Out the moon, one and all. So we are free now. Out the moon, dancing, but I could not dance along. I found her singing, but I could not sing the song for me. It's not a promise I could keep in spite of all that she has tried to deliver me. So we are free to howl at the moon, one and all. Oh, mystery, won't you please deliver from this body of pain? I give in to every day. Oh, till they are free. At the fight till we're all free. At the one and
All right.
it's a party.
That is a party. That banjo solo, Emily, that's great.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We've all been kind of stuck here in quarantine. What does life look like leading up to album release day here? How are you guys doing? What's been going on?
Man, compared to so many people, I'll speak for me and my family, we have it really good. But honestly, we do go through emotional ups and downs. It's weird. And this is obviously nothing to compare to being ill or not knowing where the next meal is coming from. And we definitely have lost our jobs temporarily, except for, doing stuff like this and live streams, which have been tremendous. But I find myself going through peaks and valleys, really, and then I'll wake up in sort of a state where I feel a little closed in, and then try to figure out why. I can't really figure out why, but so it's a lot of like communing with friends and family and just talking through things. And the one good thing is that we have a 7-year-old daughter, and she's been able to play with her. She has 2 little bubbles of friends and families who've been isolating, and that makes her happy. As long as she's got a friend to play with, she's happy. And so the adults, we have to deal through our own complications, but she's happy with the kid. So
That's great. How about you, Amy?
I'm pretty much the same. I mean, I'm super lucky. I live up in North Georgia and in the woods, so I'm an isolator anyway by nature. But my partner is social. She's very social. So it's been harder on her, most likely. And my child is social. But we have a little pod with my child's daddies and a couple kids, a few kids to play with. And then, I spend a lot of time outside and garden a lot. And I have 12 animals and dogs and cats. So I'm so lucky. I mean, I'm super lucky. So I feel, I'll be sitting there playing and I'll just start crying sometimes in my studio, by myself, because I'm just thinking about the world. And that's about, I'll just be sitting there playing a song and I'll be like thinking about the past or what it was like when I wrote this song that I'm playing, and I'll just be like bawling my eyes out because of all the significant amount of change and how it's never going to be the same. And we, we're so sheltered in, this class of the white middle class, upper class people. And now we see, a glimpse of the fear, but then we find out that, of course, it's the people of color in communities that are hard hit, that didn't have enough resources to begin with and aren't really served by public health. And so it's just that the emergence of all the problems just magnified by this makes me just feel anxious and sad,
Mm-hmm.
So I think one thing, Emily and I are kind of similar in that we're like, okay, well, let's do something about it. So we're just kind of like, okay, let's raise as much money as we can for people. And, it's just whatever you can do, because it just, you feel paralyzed because we're not doctors. We're not scientists. We're not first responders or grocery store workers or all the really important people right now. We're just musicians, and we can't go on tour. So what can we do to help? That's kind of how can we feel like we're engaging in this, in a way? And that's what I'm going through, I worked at a food pantry for a while up in my community, but my family was like, you can't do that anymore. You're putting every day you're seeing 30 people, and we're wearing masks and all that, but it was in the situation I'm in my family, it was probably good to not do it forever. But just, I think right now, I'm just like, well, maybe I'll just drive a rural postal route next year or something. I just, I'm a worker by nature, so it's hard for me to like think about not going on tour, but it's really great to think about not leaving home. So there's a conflict there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a postal worker in a year.
That's cool.
All right. I like that.
Just
So,
in between
yeah.
live streams, I'm gonna deliver letters.
Well, you guys are musicians, but you're also activists, and it's, it can be harder to do the types of things that you're used to doing. I should say, a plug as you talk about raising money. There's a donate button on our YouTube live stream right now for Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, which
Awesome.
goes to musicians in need, but also music industry professionals in need. So, roadies, anybody who's been put out of work by this and has medical needs, or something's come up where they just can't pay their bills. Sweet Relief has been doing great work for decades to do that. But for you guys, are you feeling ways to be activists in the midst of all this? And I know you're so active in so many different issues. Are you able to find ways to keep that activism going as we're all stuck at home?
Well, I think the past couple of live streams, the one before last, like 2 weeks ago, we did one, and the fans chipped in, and we raised $200,000 for Honor the Earth, which is an indigenous environmental group we helped start with Winona Duke like a couple decades ago. So that money, even though we can't be on the ground doing the work in the communities like the native peoples are there, the indigenous community folks, we were able to provide them through the generosity of our listeners money to do that work. So in that way we stay connected. And then last night we did one and raised money for a group called Feeding the Valley out of like Southwest Georgia, little slice of East Alabama. Stacey Abrams introduced us to that group. They're a food bank and food insecurity outreach, and we had a phenomenal result from that. So we're doing the best we can by raising money for other groups, and that's how we stay active. And of course, we stay active ourselves, reading up on whatever's happening with issues in the communities that we follow, or if we're introduced to new issues that come up. So we just try to keep ourselves educated with reliable sources and mentors and elders and youth and educators, and then we try to raise money. And I think that's about the best we can do right now.
And I think voting is going to be super important in this next election, and so there are some opportunities to do like phone banks, so some phone calls to get people to make sure they vote, make sure they get their absentee ballot. I'm probably going to do some of that. I think, there are opportunities out there. I mean, it's hard because you can't be on the ground. It's like, what can we do? We can't go places and do things, but we've got big elections coming up, and really important elections coming up. So that's one thing we can put our minds to. And when we first got home from tour, we had people, doctors in our life, texting us and saying, y'all need to do a show to tell people to stay home because this was like, the beginning of March when a lot of people didn't know they needed to stay home yet. And so that's a piece of activism everybody can do. It's like, I know things are opening up, but it's not the time to go out and party yet. We got to like be careful and protect people that are vulnerable and be mindful of people that are out there putting their lives on the line to try to keep the virus at bay.
Well, I've always admired y'all's activism, but also just the spirit of activism that seems to permeate your fans. You've developed this sort of just culture of not just going and hearing live music, but becoming a part of a movement, and that's been a fantastic thing to watch.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that's like been the best part of everything. We get people say like, I went to the Peace Corps, I did this, I did that. We get to hear everything that everybody's doing all the time, and it's phenomenal. I mean, our community is incredible, outstanding.
Well, great. Well, we're going to hear another song here. What's the next song?
This song is called Country Radio, and I wrote it when I used to drive back home from Nashville after I'd visited friends or done some studio work or co-write or whatever, and every time I'd drive home, I'd listen to country music all the way. I started to get this feeling about how I couldn't fit my own personal life into the lives of these songs that were written by and for men and women. And so it gave me this feeling of otherness and outsideness. And so I decided to write a song about it, because I love country music and I love country songs and voices and all that. So this is called Country Radio. I work at the mall food court, and when I get home, I pick something to eat, settle into my seat, and turn on the country radio. I know every word to every song, and they make these lonely nights a little less long, 'cause then I'm under the stars, regular at the bar. Got a perfect girl, I got a morning truck. We go down to the river, and the moonlight is silver. But most of all, I get to be in love. I wanna be that boy, I wanna be that girl. I wanna know what it's like to fall in love like most of the rest of the world. But as far as these songs will take me, is as far as I'll go. I'm just a gay kid in a small town who loves country radio. I feel it in old time, I feel it brand new. That lonesome refrain, the secrets and pain, like only a song can know you. But then I close my eyes, it's like I click my heels. That's me in the story, and the story is real, and it looks like a job. I got him on my arm, taking a chance on a dance while the band is a favorite song. We're singing along, and tonight he's gonna ask my hand. I wanna be that boy, I wanna be that girl. I wanna know what it's like to fall in love like most of the rest of the world. But as far as these songs will take me, is as far as I'll go. I'm just a gay kid living in a small town who loves country radio. As I'm driving to work, the sign at your church says we've been now, you can't go back to the ways of your past. So it could twist this past and turn you home. So I can live right back. I wanna be that girl. I wanna know what it's like to fall in love like most of the rest of the world. I wanna be that boy, I wanna be that boy. I wanna be that girl. I'm just a gay kid in a small town who loves country radio.
Wow,
I'm sorry about
I love that song.
I took a wrong note in that chord too.
I just went, sorry. Yeah. Oops.
Well, I just have to read this comment from Christine on our YouTube stream here. This song makes me cry. I could never see myself in love songs, but once I found Indigo Girls in 1992, I could see myself in love songs. Your impact is immeasurable in my life and for so many others.
Wow,
That's incredible.
it's very amazing.
And I know that sentiment goes to so many people. The impact that you guys have had, you know, as we were just talking, all the ways that you've gotten involved in so many different issues, but in the gay community particularly, to be able to have music and have songs that people could relate to and idols to look up to. You've you've addressed some of that on this record of particularly in that song of your own struggles and trying to find acceptance and learning to have that acceptance, and also now as parents, just being in a different role and having, feeling judgment around you. Can you guys just talk a little bit about the songwriting as it pertains to that on this album?
Well, I think for me, like the writing on this album is very, very, very honest and very, very autobiographical and very real. And for me, there were things that I wanted to write about that I wasn't able to write about earlier. There's a song on the album called Sorrow and Joy. It talks about some time I had with my little sister who later died. And country radio, just the vulnerability of feeling otherness. I think country radio, even for not only queer people, but anyone who has felt othered by society or by their church or their synagogue or people or bullies or whatever it is, I think just that that feeling of otherness is common, and if you've never felt it, then you're probably not in touch with what's going on in your life, because human beings tend to other each other, unfortunately, a lot of times. So they're just songs that are pretty much open and real and honest and based on feelings that I've had. And I think with a lot of our listeners, it just turns out there's a lot of people out there who felt the same things that Amy and I have felt when we write about our own lives.
Absolutely.
That's my answer.
Oh, well, this is so fun, guys. I'm so glad to have you here.
Good to be here.
So, one thing that we like to ask everybody that's on the show is, what is the piece of art that is, filling up your time, keeping you entertained and sane as we are, mostly trapped at home here? Is there a TV show? Is there a book? Is there an album? Is there something that you find yourself spending a lot of time with right now? I know you're both parents of young children, so there's not as much time as there might be, but in those rare moments, what are you going to?
Lego Masters. No. I mean, there's not just one thing. There's like a million books. I just finished Nickel Boys, Colson Whitehead, and Ibram X. Kendi, The History of Racism. I can't remember what that book's called. But anyway, it's a big, thick book I've been reading. I reread it because I feel like I missed half of it. And I read it the first time. I finished Louise Erdrich's new book recently. I'm reading Untamed.
Glennon
Doyle.
Yay.
And music-wise, I've got it. I've been listening to so much music because I have a turntable in my office. Finally, I have one upstairs, but I put one in my office too. I'm so happy. I've got so much vinyl, so I've just been like, Algiers has a new record out from Atlanta, and Bon Iver's been on my Brent Cobb from Georgia has a couple great records out that sound really good on vinyl. And then I'm digging back. I'm trying to learn about is jazz. I don't know anything. So I bought like a Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and a Thelonious Monk record. And I'm just trying to listen, and hear jazz in a different way than I ever have. It's cool.
For me, like the Sunday New York Times crossword puzzle, I look forward to it. Like with just such a relish, a cup of coffee and starting that on Sunday morning. For the first time that I can remember in a long time, I know what it feels like to reach a weekend, because for Amy and me, when we tour, we're always playing shows on a weekend. And so if we have a day off, if it's a Monday kind of feels like a weekend. But for now, because Cleo's been in school, my wife works. Then when the weekend comes, that's the family weekend time. And I have really appreciated that. And now I really know why people look forward to the weekends. Yeah.
That's a song.
That's
right
a good
there.
idea.
Write that song.
That's a good idea.
All right.
And then doing as much reading as I can. And then to relax my mind, I've found this word. It's called wordscapes. And you just try to find the words in the puzzle. And I just really, really enjoyed that. So I do a little bit of that every night before I go to sleep.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've been addicted. There's an app for the New York Times crossword puzzle. So that's it like comes live 10 o'clock at night. So as soon as that thing comes live, I'm like, I could be watching TV and it's just the extra thing. So I get that, Emily.
I got that. That's a great app.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got one more song today. What are we going to close out here with?
We're going to do a song from the record. Yeah. It's called Shit Kicking. a lot of Georgia in this song.
All right.
About my times going up to Lake Hartwell and Livonia, Georgia, and as a kid, and kind of the invasion of the lake culture invading the agricultural world up there, and you know, we didn't know, they didn't know, so it's like about all that stuff. Speaking of Georgia, can I just think one thing is that Emily and I are doing this. The Georgia Music Foundation is having a show online Tuesday the 26th with all these great writers from Georgia, and all the proceeds go to the Georgia Music Foundation. And
that's a great foundation.
Fund like music education and culture. You sustain the blues culture and different kind of cultural icons that we have. And Brent Cobb and I are hosting it, and Emily and I are in it, and Brandy Carlisle is going to be a Georgian for a night and do it. And
all right, getting Brandy as an honorary Georgian is a fantastic thing. So well done.
She should have been from Georgia. And Katie Pruitt and John Tavius Willis. There's a million great people playing. So I hope people can tune into that. I just wanted to plug it. I promised Lisa Love I would. So.
Absolutely.
We'll do this.
I love Lisa Love, so I'm glad you did that.
All right, cool. Shit kicking, suburban. I grew up way back riding out on the weekends, little parties. You can catch it, you can ride it. That's what the old man said to us kids. I'm too better ready for the rest of my days. I'm a little bit left of the salt of you, not too proud of the mother. A little bit right with my family. You know where to be to make my way through this world. In spite of it, shit kicking, suburban, for a line girl. I'm a Honda girl, trail 90. Wear my cap every time I ride it. That carburetor left its mark on me. You can start them, you can ride them. That's what my daddy said to us kids. I'm too better ready for the rest of my days. I'm a little bit left to the salt of you. Not too proud of the number. A little bit right with my family. You know where to be to make my way through this world in spite of everything. Tearing down the dirt, steam around the castle, knocking past the old man, get a load of that tomboy kid. Flying out the back, going down to the lake shore, fishing for people, got the dawn in my hand. Catching and releasing, didn't feel it creeping, that cuz who covered me, like it would set me free from the old ways of the old men. Damn, that trickery got the best of me. I'm gonna tear it down. Granddaddy was a preacher, built that church from the sand to the steeple. I didn't know him except by his journal and hay. You can find him, you can love him, though you gotta be honest about him. You'll be fighting the weeds for the rest of your days. I'm the one on the left, on the side of the earth, that's alright. I'll remember a little bit bright of my family. You know this is free to make my way through this world. In spite of she kicking super for all I'm worth. She kicking super for all I'm worth.
We want to thank Pace, Josh. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys so much for doing this. This has been so much fun.
You get us a long time.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all.
Well, it's mutual, and we're excited when, things get safer and we can safely do this in person, downtown Atlanta, getting together, and we'll do another live stream. We will, it'll be like our normal pristine sound that we used to be able to do every day. So,
Yeah.
but this has been fun. I mean, Zoom is not everything, but it is at least, for me, it's meant live music every day and good conversation, and it's so good to see you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we always do a toast every day on the Paste Happiest Hour. And since we've got you guys on, I would like today to toast all those Georgia counties that, we don't hear about in the news very much, but are getting hit particularly hard right now. Places like Mitchell and Lee and Hall and Doherty. A lot of these counties are predominantly African American. A lot of them are very rural, but have been hit. Like when it first happened, everything down in Albany, Georgia, just suffering just disproportionately. So I would like to toast all the people struggling in hot spots right now in Georgia. All right, Emily, who else should we be toasting today?
I'd like to toast to all the teachers and the staff and school workers who have provided food for families that needed food and who have developed some educational curriculum for kids in the midst of this and have continued to foster and develop the lives of children even in the midst of this very, very tough time and this really weird school year. So I'd like a toast to teachers, staff, and people involved in education.
Absolutely, a toast to the teachers. I have one left in high school, and then my older two are out of high school and finished for the semester. But man, I can't imagine trying to teach over the internet, particularly with like young kids and trying to make it all work and actually educate and keep people engaged. It's got to be so difficult. So particularly down this sort of home stretch of the year. So thank you for toasting them. Amy, who else should we be toasting today?
Well, I think there's so many people to toast, but I think I want to toast everybody graduating
Yes.
college and grad school because it's hard. And we don't have a ton of high school fans, but a lot of our fans have high schoolers. So we want to just toast those people graduating in college and high school and grad school and just, we're sorry you couldn't walk across the stage.
Yeah. This has got to be a tough time to be a high school senior, but also like graduating and trying to go out into the workforce
Oh,
at a
yeah.
time of record unemployment. So,
Yeah.
yes, to all the grads of 2020,
Cheers,
cheers
y'all.
to you. All right, guys. Thanks so much for doing this. Good luck with the album. And stay safe, and look forward to meeting in person again.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Josh.
Thank you, Pace. Thank you, Josh. Namaste.
All right, take care.